Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay, technology issues. I'm Sarah from Valley City, Barnes County Public Library, and welcome to the Singer-Songwriter Workshop with DeMasi and Hager. And I hope you all enjoy.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Now, before we get started, first of all, we'd like to thank you guys all for coming out. Number two, just to get the business out of the way, we'd like to thank the North Dakota Council on the Arts for sponsoring this, along with the library, the Valley City Barnes County Public Library. It's the latest, it's the greatest, it's the library.
There's always a song, isn't there?
That's right, that's a song. That was a song. Hey, don't forget about commercials. You can make a lot of money writing commercials.
No, it is great to be here, and again, as Joe said, the fact that the great state of North Dakota does have some of these grant dollars available for education programs means a lot, because not a lot of states have as much opportunity as we have in North Dakota. And so just for those that are on the live stream, for forever on YouTube and Facebook and wherever this ends up,
tax dollars at work.
We're thankful and to get to do this on behalf of the North Dakota Council for the Arts. It means a lot.
So anyway, why don't we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, sure. I'm Greg Hager. Valley City is my hometown, born and raised here. I live just out where I grew up, southwest of town. Grew up on a grain and a dairy farm, and when I was 7 years old, I learned to play guitar, and I wrote my first song when I was 7. And I knew at that young age that I wanted to use music to make a difference in people's lives. And so up to this point, I will be 50 this summer. That's been my life's goal to do that. The last 13 years I've been full-time as a musician with my music on the road, sharing songs that try to make connections and do that. Full-time, about 150 concerts a year is what we typically average. And to get to use my songs, I only do original music from the road. So everything that I do is 100% original. I've got 9 albums released. I'm assigned to a label in Nashville, and I'm glad to have that support from Music City.
Yeah. And I'm Joseph DeMasi, and I was actually born and raised and grew up in New York City, which was quite exciting. And I started my musical journey when I was in the 4th grade on the violin. I loved classical music, and then when I got to be in my teenage years, I taught myself guitar. I had an affinity for string instruments, and loved to sing. And although I did say I was like Greg, I wrote my first song when I was 7 years old, or 8 years old. And I still remember it, as a matter of fact. I'll tell you a cute story. It's just a silly song that I have a twin brother, he's also a musician, and we wrote it. It has, deep in the woods, there's a porcupine who lives there. I won't bore you with it, but so now so fast forward, like 35 years, my son is now 8 years old, right? So I said, Stephen, I want to sing a song for you. So I sing the song for him, right? He loves it. He thinks this is great. So we used to do it, I'll sing it all the time. So I thought that was cool, because here I am, the 8-year-old me connecting with my 8-year-old son. So that was just a kind of cool story about the power of music. I got into folk music and started playing wine and cheese places, clubs, when I was in college. And I realized I wasn't making too much money, about $20 a night. And you get to the point where you're like, well, how am I going to live off of this? So in New York, a friend of mine said, you can make a lot of money playing weddings. So we put a wedding band together, and which was great, because I learned a whole big repertoire of all kinds of different things, Latin and standards and rock and roll and all kinds of different stuff. And for about 13, 14, 15 years, we did really well. Worked every week. We were working weekends. We were doing over 150 weddings a year, wedding dances, making a lot of money, which was great, because I was able to get married, I could support my kids, support myself, and I was able to work on my original music. And I was always writing, and the dream was to be able to make a living playing music. And so for the first 15 years, well, actually, I'd say the first 5 or so years playing a lot of the folk clubs and stuff, wasn't making too much money. Then we started playing the weddings, which was great. I was making a ton of money playing music. Not really the music that I wanted, but it was better, I figured, than working at McDonald's. Because the key, one of the challenges that you have if you want to be a professional musician is, how do you pay the bills? If the music's not making money for you yet. So what we were able to do is work weekends playing music, and hang out with other musicians and stuff. Had my days free during the week. I was able to work on my original stuff, and then eventually, I ended up. We ended up. A very good friend of mine. His name is Chris Burke, and he has Down syndrome. He ended up being on a hit TV show called Life Goes On, And then Christmas, John and I decided we wanted to do a musical group after we finished the TV show. So we actually put a musical group together. We did, it's a whole story about it, I won't go into. But children's and family music, we got a record deal on BMG, and we, for 20 years, we toured, living the dream, doing concerts. Like I used to say, when I was younger, I was a full-time musician. When I was doing it on the road, I was a half-time musician and a half-time traveler. Because if you've been on the road, you know what I'm talking about. Oh boy. But I never complained because it was, it's just a wonderful experience. We played, like I used to say, we played all 53 states, including the states of delirium, confusion, and exhaustion. We also used to play, we went to Canada, Mexico, Europe, we went down to Australia, New Zealand. We did a lot of great things. That's how I actually ended up meeting my second wife, and I ended up moving here to Valley City, North Dakota. And then Chris retired. So the last, I guess, 6 years or so, my brother and I have just been doing some folk music, and I'm 68 years old now, so we're just kind of kicking back and don't play as many gigs. COVID has been tough on live music, unfortunately, these last 2 years, and so a lot of gigs are just not where they are. But one of the great things that I've always throughout my course of my career, I've always written, and so like I said, for I don't know how many CDs we've done. Did 4 with Chris, and then 4 with my brother, so it's about 8, and which actually were, like you said, you've done 9 CDs. You don't realize it. 9 CDs times, what do you got? Minimum of 10 songs per CD. Yeah. Okay? If not more, right? Sometimes 11, 12. That's close to 100 songs. That's a lot of songs.
that are produced.
That are produced, yeah. You've written that, you said, yeah, that's good enough to put on an album. You don't realize how many, over the years, how many things you've written. But, so yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But you want to start off with a song? Why don't you do one of your favorite songs that you've written?
Yeah, well, for the folks on live stream, we don't have a mechanism at the moment for taking your questions, but I know Joe will look afterwards. I will look afterwards. For those that are live, we do want to answer your questions if you have it. And we've got some folks here in the room, and we want this to be a conversation. So as you have questions, we want you to.
They can type it in the live stream, and then I'll read it.
Okay, well, excellent. So if we have some questions coming on the live stream, our camera expertise coordinator will read us the questions. But we do want this to be a conversation, and because Joe could entertain for hours, I could entertain for hours, but we want to answer the questions to make this an interactive process. And so, as Joe said, when we were coming into deciding what we wanted to do for today, we thought it might be interesting to sing one of each of our at least original songs, and then have some question and answer to kind of paint the picture of stylistically who we are. We're obviously different, and that's the incredible beauty of music and songwriting is how do you make a connection? Yeah. And regardless of your audience. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you before you go. I'll just tell you one quick story. So this is many, many years ago, and we were playing. I was still living in New York, and we were playing at a bar mitzvah. Okay, in case if you don't know, bar mitzvah is like the equivalent of a confirmation for Christians. It's when you turn 13 or 12 or 13, you become an adult. It's a Jewish party. And they have big parties in New York, and they would hire bands. So we were hired to play, and we were playing the bar mitzvah. So we were doing something again, and it was a catered affair, big. There's probably, 150 people there, whatever. So we're playing things, and one of the things that we would do is there's a lot of 13-year-old kids because they have their friends as well as the family and such. So it's a tough gig because you got to play for everybody. And you have all kinds of ages, The 13-year-olds wants to hear AC/DC, Grandpa wants to hear Glenn Miller, and they got to find everything in between. Those were tough gigs. But so we're doing I think it was musical chairs or something with the kids, entertainment. So the winner got to we had a bunch of different. This was back then cassettes, right? So the winner got to. He was a 13-year-old kid. He got to choose whichever. Put his hand in and choose a cassette. Get a cassette as his prize. And I'll never forget this. So he pulls out the cassette and he looks at it, and it's a Janet Jackson cassette, and he goes, "Janet Jackson, she sucks," and he throws it down. Right? Now I'm thinking, this is Janet Jackson. Okay? She sold hundreds of millions of albums. She is one of the Jackson family. They are American icons. Okay? You can't get bigger than the Jacksons. Yet this kid thinks he doesn't like her. And the beauty of that moment shows that no matter who you are or what you do, it's really important you have to find your audience. Because no matter what you do, okay, you are not going to appeal to everybody. So just do your thing, find your audience, and don't worry about what other people are thinking or saying. Because even Janet Jackson can't get everybody to like her. You know, like I said, if you sell a million records, okay, there's still 300 million people in this country. There's still 299 million people who did not buy your record. So that's important to keep in mind. Don't worry about you don't get distracted. Just focus on who you are, what you do, who you want to speak to, and find your audience.
And from a songwriting perspective, no matter, like you say, where you are, you will find your fans. It's just because you play a song for somebody and they don't like it, if you believe, no one will believe in you as much as you believe in you. So if you think, I think this is a good song, I'm going to go out and do something with it, you just keep moving as a writer and say, I just need to find my circle of fans. And the world is 7 billion people.
Yeah.
Certainly you can find enough people to make a career, make a living with that many people to choose from.
Yeah.
And it's just working to get that group of people.
Yeah.
Whenever I travel, I always like to sing a song about home. And this is to kick off a song that I call The Northern Land, which is how I affectionately think of North Dakota. The mysteries of nature cannot be explained by man. The same thing goes for love. Oh, they've tried, but no one can. Just take a look around you and see the way that things are here. And notice how the skyline always seems so far from here. And it's in the northern land. Oh, the sights are grand. Come take me by the hand, and we will walk together. For when you are here with me, more than the land is free. And I hope you now can see the way that life can be. Babbling of a small brook and the swaying of the trees, the meadows with their flowers and the whispers of the breeze all paint a perfect picture on the canvas of the ground. A finer place on earth for love to grow can never more be found. It's in the northern land. Oh, the sights are grand. Come take me by the hand, and we will walk together. For when you are here with me, more than the land is free. And I hope you now can see the way that life can be. It's in the northern land. Oh, the sights are grand. Come take me by the hand, and we will walk together. For when you are here with me, more than the land is free. And I hope you now can see the way that life can be.
That's such a good song. It was interesting because obviously Greg writes, and me too, most of this is stuff that we write for ourselves. They basically have two different types of writing. You can either write for yourself or you can write for others. Now, obviously, when you write for others, it's a very different approach because depending on who you're writing for, you know, it matters. Versus if you're writing for yourself, you're going to write things that you know fit what you're trying to do. But that's such a good song. That's a really good song.
But that's an important point that Joe made. Is as you know, for our online folks watching, you know, the question why. What do I want to do with the song? Why am I writing it? What is, you know, why am I doing this? What do I want to accomplish with this? What's the point? What's the point exactly? You know, and that will help you focus what words you use, maybe how you're going to tell the story. You know, to me, the greatest songs have a great story with them, something that you can connect with.
The people who really, I mean, because to a large extent, 95%, I'll make an interesting point about that song. 95% of songs that are written are love songs.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, because that's what most people really want to, you know, can relate to.
It's part of us.
Yeah, I mean, we're all, you know, breaking up. I mean, and you think about it, to a large extent, the demographic of people that buy music tend to be young. Okay, younger folks. So they're still, you know, getting married and getting divorced and breaking up and yada yada yada. So love songs are obviously going to be more relevant to them. So you have that small core 5% that like what you were singing about, which is certainly. But you know, I don't know if you understand. That song has all. I mean, why is that? Why do you think that? Why is that? I think that's a good song. What makes that a good song? I mean, I can tell you a number of things. Number one, it has a really strong hook. Here in the northern land, where there's a side sermon. I mean, it's very easy. It grabs you. Okay, because it's important. You need, if you're gonna listen to a song, the first thing it needs a hook. It's got to be something you can relate to.
And Atomic, what was that, Chirp?
Oh yeah, definitely a hook, and it's relatable to around here. It's the homeland. In writing songs, you really want to go for the heart.
Yeah, the lyrics certainly just describe a beautiful picture.
I don't know if you remember, Sophia asked me to play the guitar part for her to sing at her uncle's birthday.
Yeah.
I remember that. So it's
and that from a writing standpoint, you know, Joe has had that experience. I've had that experience when someone connects with your music that they want to not just for their own enjoyment, but that they want to share something that you created with somebody else. You know, it's the greatest affirmation that, okay, in my case, my goal as a kid, and my goal still, I want to make heart connections. I want to make connections with people. And when something that I write connects enough with someone that they want to share that, I know that I've accomplished what my purpose of music is.
Yeah. Plus, you have to remember too that I know they say, "Oh, music influences kids," and if you listen to this music, and they're going to be. That's not true at all. We relate to music that speaks to us. Okay, so if I'm angry, I'm going to find music that's angry music. Okay, angry music. If I'm happy, angry music is not going to make me angry. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're living by, we find music that speaks to us, that says what, whoops, that's my phone. Hang on a second.
yes.
Grandpa answered the phone.
I lined up all my grandkids. And I had to think, Grandpa, answer the phone, Grandpa, answer the phone. It's cute. But anyway, so what I was going to say is, so we relate to the music that speaks to us, okay? And we look at the people that the musicians that we enjoy and that we listen to because it touches something inside of us, you know, whether it's actual or
a wish or a dream.
Even a wish, yeah. I mean, a perfect example is if you've ever been to a Billy Joel concert. Okay, you know, and Billy Joel says, "Don't take any shit from anybody," right? Yeah, it's Billy Joel, right? Because now I'm gonna go. Then you go home. Wife says, "Take out the garbage." Okay, I'm taking out the garbage. Oh, what happened? Then your boss says, "Oh, you gotta be in. You gotta work the weekend." I'm working. I mean, you know, so because in my life I'm taking shit from everybody, but then I can come here and I can relate for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, or I can put the music on and I can be that in that space. That that I either fantasize about or that I relate to, that really speaks to you.
Well, let's hear one of your songs, Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a song for you guys. This is not one that I performed, but I wrote this, but I'll share it with you because I think it's a really good song. I wrote it back in the early 80s. It's kind of pop song. I was in my, I don't know if you guys remember Stephen Bishop or those kind of guys. They used to write Michael Johnson. They used to do a lot of these sad love songs. You know, the guys with top tens voices in it. And I will say, when you go through different phases of your life, I don't know about you guys, but music certainly has gotten me through many different things. Okay, I remember when I got divorced, there were a couple of songs that I would play. The one in particular I would play all the time because it brought me comfort. I was struggling, you know, I was just really down. And that song just inspired me. It just gave me the strength to get through one day at a time as I was going through an emotional. And I think many of us can relate to that, whether we lose someone in our life, you know, or whatever, we go through a tough time. Same thing when we go through a happy time. You know, if we're that's why all couples have that special song, because what was playing on the radio when that magic moment happened, and you connect that emotion with the music. But the thing that I like about this song, it's just kind of an 80s pop song, which I thought came out really well. From a songwriting point of view, it pretty much has everything that you would need. So if you say, if I'm going to write a song, what's the structure that I'm going to do, like in Greg's song? You can have a verse, you can have a chorus. In this song, I don't really have a chorus, I just have a hook. So I have a verse, I have a hook, I have another verse, I have a hook, I have what's known as the bridge, okay, or the release, which is a totally different musical idea, okay, so that you don't get bored because you've heard two things twice, okay. Then I have the chorus again, then I bring in what's you'd call a coda, a little something different just to kind of, you know, finish it off, and then I end it again. So you can listen to that. This is called I'm Still Missing You. You're out of my life, I don't need you anymore. I don't know what all those tears were for. Standing real tall, can make it on my own. I can't even bear to be alone. Oh, except when he stays through, I'm still missing you. The picture of you that hung on my wall, finally took it down once and for all. Tucked it away in my bottom drawer. I never look at it anymore, oh, except when he stays through. I'm still missing you. Was it really love, the way that we tore at each other's hearts? Oh, now that you're out of my life, oh, I've got to let go. Remember the park where we used to stroll? The leaves are turning, or so I'm told. I haven't been there, I'm afraid to go by. Afraid that I would just break down and cry, and old feelings would come crashing through. Oh, girl, night and day, why won't your memory just go away? Oh, girl, I'm still missing you. I'm still missing you.
about Joe's song grabbed you in the audience? What comment? What grabbed you about Joe's song?
It was authentically, I could tell it's coming from a real place.
One of the things that I think that's really challenging about writing songs is you don't have much time. Okay, when you're writing a novel, you got 700, 800, 1,000 pages to say everything that you want to say. When you're writing a song, okay, you have to be, every word has to count for a lot.
You get minutes, you know,
Okay.
4 minutes, a 5 and 6 minute song.
The most.
Can work, but we tend to get bored after,
Yeah.
4 minutes is kind of it's kind of a teetering after 4 minutes, depending upon the song. And so, it's like, Joe, this is probably about 3.5 minute song.
Yes, you don't have that much time to set up the picture and to take you want to take people to different places. So where you think, okay, if I say a line and I don't say the next line and you know what's coming, you know the rhyme, that's not good. Okay, what you want is for people to not know what's coming next, because that's what holds them.
It's like a journey.
Yes.
Okay. You're telling a story.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, one of the perfect examples is one of the greatest songs ever written. Yes, yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Okay, what are his troubles? I don't know. Maybe who knows?
Yeah.
We don't know yet. All we know is that
It was
he
yesterday.
said a movie. It was yesterday. Something happened yesterday that was better than today. Maybe his house burnt down. Maybe, who knows? Maybe his dog died. We don't know yet. Then he goes, second verse. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came. Suddenly, we still don't know. But then, why she had to go. Oh, it was a girl. Okay, he's pulling you in. He's got you. We're already halfway through the song and you're still, okay, so you don't want to reveal everything completely. You want it to spell out slowly. Okay, that's another thing that helps today. And you want to do that lyrically and you want to do that musically as well, if you can.
And again, perspective-wise, like when I listen to, it's not, like we talk about favorite kinds of music, pop music is not my favorite kind of music. To me, it's a lot of what Joe did not talk about, and it's the same 4 or 5 lines that make up a whole song. I mean, it's just repeat, 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 and you can sing along to it, and that's part of the formula for success for that type of music. Is it's not deep lyrically, but it just is. You know what, you can sing along, you can hear it, you know what the next line is, and then you can sing it. You hear a part of it. Versus what I like, what Joe is talking about is make the journey, the connection, tell the story. Bring people along and make a deeper connection. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and it depends what type of music you're writing.
Yeah.
Because you can't be all things to all people. Nobody can do everything. Okay, nobody can write every genre. It's just not going to happen. That's why we started off and we said find your niche and do your thing. And actually, in a way, sometimes it can be frustrating because if you have an interest in a lot of different types of things, you can get a little pigeonholed. Like, for example, like the type of music you do, the type of music that I do with my brother, we do a lot of folk music. So we don't really do any love songs in our show. It's not the genre doesn't really call for it. So we're not going to be singing, And I've written some really nice love songs. But we don't really do them in the show because that's not what people are here for. As opposed to if you're a pop artist, all the girls come and that's what they want. They want to fantasize that you're gonna, be with them, and they so that's the love songs that you're talking about. Because it depends on what who you're writing for, what you want to do.
We got a good age range here. Let's answer a question. Any question that one of you guys has that you came here with?
When you approach a song, like when you feel inspired to write a song, what's the very first step?
Okay, so the question, when you approach a song, what is typically the very first step? And you're going to get two different answers from Joe. Typically, when I look at a song, if something has happened and I'm trying to deal with the emotion of it, which is sometimes how I write this, I need to express this. Then I will think, okay, how do I say this? And I'll write a lot of things out, and I'll scribble a lot of things, and I'll decide this line doesn't say what I said. Sometimes at the beginning of my writing, I'll put, what's my purpose of this song? You know, I want someone to end with this thought. And so then when I'm writing, I'll express and say, does this accomplish what I intended to write the song for?
So like you're solving a problem?
Almost like solving a problem. And again, my background is mathematics. I've got a college degree in mathematics. I went to graduate school for applied mathematics. I approach things a little bit differently than some people do. But, you know, not formulaic, in other words, but why am I doing this? You know, it's like Joe was saying, we have 3 to 4 minutes. How do I get from here to this point?
Plus, the other challenge that you have when you're doing music is, especially when you're doing original music, the focus is on the word original, okay? Which means that you're doing something, saying something in a unique way that nobody else has ever done, okay? So if you decide, I want to be a carpenter, that's great. They're going to show you how to frame out a house. Every house is framed out the exact same way, okay? But if you say, I want to be a songwriter, okay? You're not going to write songs that somebody else has already written. You have to come up with something new, different, and original. Okay? You're not writing last year's song. You're writing next year's song. Okay? Which means that there is no way to tell you what is right for you, because it's unique to each and every one of
It
us.
seems to like come down
Which
to
makes
an
the challenge.
identity, like creating your identity as an artist. Our
Yeah.
identities.
Yeah.
I think very, very much is a way to do it. Is, you know, and again, who am I? You know, like I gravitate toward what in the industry calls a Western style of music. You know, what used to be country music, the stories of life and living in love, cattle country, family, faith, is what country music used to be. Well, that's now pop and rock and everything else but country. So Western music is picked up that, you know, that sort of values or just that story type of music. So everything I do, just because that's how I think, falls into that kind of Western perspective. I don't lean toward pop or folky type stuff per se, but it's how do I tell this? You know, so my approach is how do I tell this? You know, it's tell. What do I do? And Joe writes in a different style because his music style is different.
Yeah, but it also depends on the genre that you're writing in.
Yeah.
So, like for example, okay, if Hank Williams, one of my favorite quotes. Hank Williams said, "Country music is 3 chords and the truth." Okay, so if you're gonna write a country song, you know, like you're not gonna do. Hey. You know, you're not gonna put in these jazz kind of chords. You're gonna keep it simple, sweetie.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so same thing with folk music. It's a very simple type of genre. So that limits what you can do. Other types of music are very, very different. So they're going to require different type of things. I mean, it's not uncommon. Like, for example, one time we wrote with a pop song. It was back in the 90s, and it was called Forever Girl. And one of the things that I noticed was was that with a lot of the pop songs, you can have a lot of key changes, okay, within the songs. That's very common, okay. Yet within country songs or folk songs, you're not going to have that at all, okay.
Or rarely.
Or very rare. Yeah, you might have a modulation maybe, but very rare. So the way you approach the type of songs that you want to write, there are limits and boundaries, and then of course. The great thing about making the songs unique and special is, for every rule, there's a great example of a great song that's broken the rules. Yeah. You know? So, I'll give you a perfect example. Rock and roll in the 50s and pretty much in the 60s, in the beginning 60s, was 3 chords. It's just a 3 chords. You 1, you 4, you 5, you know? Chuck Berry. Louisiana was the New Orleans. Yeah, go, Johnny, go, Johnny, go. Okay? Well, the Beatles came along, and they took that, and they kind of changed a lot of things. So they were writing rock and roll songs like Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. That's not rock and roll. Okay, but they made it work. While I'm away, I write home every day. And I'll send all my love to you. And then the bridge goes, do, do, do. And she said it with a, so they add the rock in there. Okay, so they've broken a lot. And then he ends it off with the Beatles just love to end off in an early period, in the 60s, early 60s. Okay, we did on a 6 chord. Okay, that's really pushing the envelope. Because this is the same time when, people are writing, what was I think of that Beach Boys song. Well, Brian Wilson, he was great too. He was so pushing the envelope. But you had, like in the still of the night, in the still of the night, when I held you, oh so tight. That kind of 1-6-4-5 thing. The Beatles took it out. So they broke the rules to make it interesting. But so for every rule that there is that works, that's great songs that are within the rules. There are also great songs that are pushing the envelope, changing things, breaking rules, and making things a little bit different. Which is what makes songwriting so challenging. Because, like I said, you can't write last year's song. You gotta write next year's song. But I'm gonna go through a couple questions. I think we have some good ones here. And this is one that I really find interesting. And because one of my favorite quotes is Bruce Springsteen said, "Songwriting is 1 + 1 = 3. The third element being the magical spark that makes a song great." You agree? You disagree? You want to comment on that?
Well, I agree because, when we talk about if I'm writing for myself or writing for someone else or, kind of the why, the question, why am I writing this song? What's my purpose in doing this? If you can craft in such a way that your lyrics and your melody will connect with somebody else, that's the magic that Springsteen was talking about. Is it's a song, it's a melody, it's a lyric, but then it's that next thing that happens when the connection is made or someone has that aha moment, like, I understand what he's saying, or I don't understand what he meant, but I see a picture in my own mind, or I see a picture in my heart with this song. That's the 1 + 1 being more than it ever would have been on its own.
Yeah. So it's like it's a tool to make a connection. Like a paintbrush is a tool to paint a picture.
That's some of, when you asked a question earlier about approach, that's some of what I do, and even in Joe's writing is the music in a folk setting or in a country or western setting, the music always supports the lyric. That the lyric is the most important thing. Some rock music, some other genres of music, it's all about what the instruments are doing. And frankly, I don't want to hear the lyrics. Just be quiet, let me just hear the music. It's a different purpose for their thing, that it's not supporting the lyric. The lyric is just added because the instruments are so good. Like this young man here has written some guitar licks. That's good. So then how do you add that into making a connection? Will your instrument be your storyteller, or is that going to lead into maybe a song, a good setup to then build into someone making a connection with the lyric, where the music would support the lyric rather than the lyric being less than the music.
Yeah. Plus, I also think that there's a magic that happens with music that is undefinable. That's what makes art so special. Okay, is that when you're writing songs, there's craft. There's definitely craft to it. Okay, you can definitely know what the form is for a particular song. You can know what type of chords you should use. You can make, there's good lyrics and there's bad lyrics. Bad lyrics will sound very trite and very sing-songish. One of the things I mentioned before is you'll know what the next line is. Okay, that's a bad lyric. But there are there are books out that the art of lyric writing and such. You can find explain, go into depth about good lyric writing. But then there's that magical spark that for some reason people just relate to a song. It just, and why that is, who knows? That's that magic of art, whether it's music, whether it's painting, whatever. It's just, and you can write, as a songwriter, you can write 10 songs, and they can all be equally good, but one of them just has this spark that just people love. Yeah. And who knows why? And I mean, and there's so many examples of that. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. You know the song about that? The story about that song? Okay, basically, 3 Dog Night was in the studio. They were laying down tracks for some songs that they had written, and they were done. And they had about a half hour left. So the engineer said, "Now look, guys, you still got your book for another half an hour. Anything else you want to put down?" So one of the guys said, "I don't know, I've been kind of working on this thing. It's kind of silly." I said, "I don't have any lyrics." He said, "Well, just make something up." Right? So they just put it down, and he just made up these lyrics. They gave him a monster hit. Okay? That's music. And that happens more than you think. Okay? Why something works and why something doesn't work is that magical spark that people just relate to. And why some people think Janet Jackson is God and other people think Janet Jackson sucks. Okay? It's just that you can't, it's undefinable. You can't quantize it. You can't put it in a bottle. Because if I go to Greg Good, we'd be billionaires. And there's no way to learn it. Because you can't, how do you bottle, sunshine? You can't do it. It's just that magic, that from there.
Question in the back. Go ahead.
So have you both as songwriters, and you clearly have an understanding about how music works and what a good song is. Have you ever listened to a song and you're going like, oh my God, if he had done that, then it would have been a great song? Or are you going like, oh my God, that's such a bad song? Why did they even record it?
I have done that, and my half of the answer would be is I've taken some to listening to songs and trying to be like a student. Okay, what did they do in this song? What was the meter? What was the timing? What were the lyrics? What did they say? And did it connect with me? And trying to be, again, maybe that mathematics background of mine, analytical about if they would have just done this, I would have connected with it. In my case, I dislike songs when they don't rhyme. And maybe there's a lot of music that doesn't rhyme, and I think if they would have just written it to rhyme, it would not have grated against me, because if you can rhyme songs, you're clearly a more clever person. You understand English far better to be able to come up with the right words to have songs that rhyme and have proper meter rather than just are thrown out there. But then there are songs that don't, and they've been unbelievably successful. So if I do that, is if they'd have just done this, or I don't like that chord, it just for me, it rubs me wrong. I mean, so I do that, actually.
Yeah, and have I? Yes, of course. There are songs that I will hear that I don't think that are great songs, but we all have that. We all have songs that we think are great and songs that we don't like, but other people think that they do like. That's why there's different strokes for different folks and so many different things. That's why you don't have to worry that, like I said, not everybody's going to like what you do. That's good. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, don't take it personal. It's finding your audience and finding the people that relate to who you are and what you're saying.
I do think there's some value in like I will listen to top 40 every week, typically in different genres that are not mine. What has become the top music in the nation? According to the music makers, whether legitimate or contrived, but what do they say is the best music in the country? And then why is it? Why is this song, what are these top 10? Why is this one the #1 song? Is it a melody? Is it a lyric? What is it? Because I want to learn. How can I take an element of this genre that's not mine but became a huge hit and maybe take an aspect of that into, well, it was a melody. The lyrics were bad, maybe, but that was a good melody. I like what they did there. Maybe I can implement a part of that into my own writing to have some of that success.
We always used to say, if it sounds good, it is good. Okay? Don't worry about how you got there. And I think that's the same thing with successful songs. If they're successful, by definition, they're good. Because people, now you may not like it, may not speak to you, but it's found its audience, okay? And which means that it's a good song. Even though you don't relate to it, there are people that do. And by definition, it's successful. So that's to a large extent, that's what makes it good, is that people relate to it. You know. Now, there are plenty of songs as songwriters. I'm sure Greg will be happy. Why don't you share a couple more songs? Why don't you share a song that you've written? I'll share one that I've written that I think is great. Yet most people don't think, you know, that doesn't really go well. And I bet you probably have songs in your audience, people they love, that you probably think, yeah, that's not one of my better songs, but everybody loves it. You know. Have you experienced it? I mean, John Lennon. I mean, he won't even listen to his early albums. Because he hears all the mistakes. He has all the things that he could have done better.
Yeah, that's actually my problem. Is I sometimes hate listening to my old songs.
Yeah, it's really that's challenging because other people listen to Earl John Lennon songs and they love them.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you? Which gets to the point. Well, that's a good question. Although you didn't ask, but you're again alluding to it. Yeah. How do you critique? When I say criticize, critique your songs. And I think one of the most important things to do is to have one or two or three trusted people that you know, that who you respect. Okay? And I'm not talking about your mom. I'm not talking about your best friend who's not a musician, because you can burp and they're going to think you're great. Okay? That's not who you want. You want people whose opinions you value. So that you want them to be honest with you. Okay? Because the only way you're going to get better and you're going to grow is by, Harry Chapin said, I wrote 400 songs before I wrote my first good one. Okay? So writing songs is a craft. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it.
Yeah, that was my biggest fear starting out, because you know on American Idol, a lot of those contestants got there because everybody was telling them that they were good and they should go.
Yeah.
You know, so I was worried, are they doing that to me? I wanted some constructive criticism.
And I'll tell you one of the beautiful things about music is that people are honest. Okay? If they like you, they like you. And if they don't, they don't. And they'll let you know one way or the other. Okay? Now your friends and your family, they're going to love you no matter what. But being successful around your friends and your best friends and your family, you know, oh, that's my son, look, he's up there, he's playing guitar, oh, isn't he great? Okay, but if it's when other people who you don't know say, yeah, you know what, I really like what you're doing, man, here's $10, I'll buy you a CD. Whoa. Now you know that what you're doing is actually speaking to people, okay? Because they don't know you from Adam, okay? And if you do what you do, and they're like, so, you know, most people, it's interesting, I'm sure you'll agree with this with me. Most people, they won't tell you that they don't like what you're doing. They just won't say anything.
Yeah.
They'll just say, oh, nice to meet you.
One of the things I did early on too, to this point, is everybody who says something, I take it like a coach. You know, I never play basketball, but I watch on occasion and the coach say, hold the ball different. It's not personal. It's not about you. He's just saying, hold the ball different. So when people give an opinion and say, I didn't really like that, don't bristle, don't take it personally, do the follow. Why didn't you like it? What would you have done differently? Let everything be a coaching opportunity. You write a lyric that you don't think is good, or someone says, nah, that wasn't good. Okay, you know, don't let the defenses go up, is my advice. Say why, what didn't you like about it? What would have made it better? And let that be just like a coach saying, hold the guitar different, angle different, hold the ball different. If you would, don't use ing on every word, I could have connected with, there's little things that, just like a coach would say. So all criticism can be an opportunity to learn. The second thing that my first producer in Nashville said, Greg, don't ever look back at your early music with regrets.
Yeah.
Because what you are doing is you're recording a period of time. You are making permanent where you were at that time. And learn from it. Look back on it and be appreciative. That's where I was. This is where I've moved to. And I've rewritten some lyrics on older music because that was a really good song, but I just had some bad lyrics, then you change it. But the point being, don't go back and say, oh, I was a failure then. No, this is where I was, and look where I've moved now, and appreciate that point of permanence.
Yeah. And I want to share a story with you guys. I'm assuming you guys have an interest in becoming professional, or, you know, at least to doing music, you know, semi-professionally or to a certain extent. So it was it was early 1990s, and my brother John and I and my brother Chris was still in a TV show, and we wanted to do a musical project. So we thought, well, what are we going to do with Chris? You know, we do something. So I said, well, why don't we just do a pop song, a nice pop song? So we wrote this song. I wrote this song called Forever Girl. We went in and we recorded it. It came out great. It was a really nice song. And we took it to the executives at ABC, and we flew out to LA. And they listened to it. They said, wow, we really like this. So we're thinking of making a cast album for the TV show. And if we do, songs on the album. Because there was a number of other people in the show, Pat Lapone and some other people who were also musicians. Well, anyway, they don't make the album. Okay. So we said, all right, well, what do you want to do now? So we said, well, why don't we go back into the studio? Let's do some more recording. Because obviously we have something here that we really think is good, and it's getting some good response. We said, well, if we want to do something more of a project, look, what kind of we're pop singers. What do we want to do? So why don't we do children's and family music? You know, that we like that genre. You have to pick a genre. What are you going to be? Like, who are you? You have to define who you are. So we did children's and family music, and we recorded an album, and we shopped it around, and lo and behold, we landed a record deal with BMG. Okay, and it was great. We signed a 5-album deal with them. We were on the same label as Mary-Kate Nash, the Olsen, I don't know if you remember the Olsen twins. Roger Daltrey was doing a children's album. He was on. This is when Rafi was really big. And sure enough, so we go in the studio. We recorded this in New York. We recorded the album with all these top studio musicians, and so it was great. Living the dream. We had a big record release party at Planet Hollywood in Manhattan. So it was just a great time. So they released this song. One of the songs on the album, and we go out to LA to do a promotional tour. Well, the O.J. Simpson trial is going on at the time. Everything is non-stop O.J. Okay, so we can't get on anything. There's no shows to go on because everybody's covering the O.J. trial. They're not covering anything else, right? So then it turns out, so we come back, we do what we can do out in LA, and we come back, and the record companies has decided, the big boys have decided, they're going to pull the plug on the record label that we're on. So much for we've already recorded 4 albums, or 1 album. We have a 5-album deal. They go the other 4 albums. So we decided, well, what are we going to do? We're going to give up now. So we decided, we'll just record on our own. We started booking work, and we went on, for the next 20 years, and we had a career. But my point is that all along the way, you're gonna have moments of exuberance and ecstasy, and you're gonna have moments of disappointment and struggle. Okay? And the key is to keep pushing forward and to keep working to reach your goal and to reach your dream. Okay? And like Greg says, it's really important to use the roadblocks that you run into as instructionary learning things that you can learn from.
So Joe, when you're writing a song, do you typically write the lyrics first or the melody, or how do you approach this whole creative process?
I approach it depends. I usually have like a kernel of an idea. Usually I come up with a kernel for some kind of hook or something first. I usually write the chorus first, and then I'll fill in the verses. One of the things that I found that really works well for me is, I think it's really important for me anyway, is to not write on a guitar. Because when I write on a guitar, I'm limited to what I can play. So when I try to write, I try to put my guitar down and I try to write in my head, because I can hear so much more. And when I hear it in my head, Then I will go to the guitar and I'll figure out what I hear in my head. And I think that's a really, for me, that works because it doesn't limit me. I can write now I can write anything.
That set me down, like you talking about that. When I first started, I had these songs in my head. They sounded great in my head. I didn't have any skills to put it on a guitar or piano, so I just beat my head against the wall for years trying to figure out how to take it to my head.
Well, I will say one thing too. The more you can bring to the table as a musician, the better your music is going to be. Okay? So be open to everything. Learn theory. Learn whatever, as much as you can.
Yeah.
So because the better of a musician you are, the more you're going to be able to do it.
Get a teacher. Going to VCSU has made
Yeah.
huge difference.
You know, and now online there's so much stuff online that you can do, you can see. You know, but you also, my goal for me, and I don't know, Greg may agree with me, my goal was never to become a rock star. My goal was always to make a living playing music, and I've more than done that. And I am so blessed and so honored because one of the things that I found is that there are way more talented people out there than there are slots for them, unfortunately. Music is the type of thing that people go into because they love it. It's something that you have to do, okay? And so what happens is that there's plenty of people that want to do it. So the competition is really, really tough. And it's becoming even harder now because of, well, in a way it's easier because you have the internet, so you have exposure to the world. You don't have to, used to be the record companies were filters or the publishing companies were filters. You had to deal with them. Where now you can bring your music out to other people, but there's not as much live music and such going on anymore as there used to be. You know?
What was your reason, Greg, for going into music?
Well, I mean, the question I had for Joe was then, you know, whether you approach the lyrics or the melody first. You know, like this young man here said that you've got some cool guitar licks. Well, we want to listen to those after the seminar, but sometimes you might be writing a lyric, or you might come up with music that you can't come up with the melody for, or the lyrics to. Like in my case, as a songwriter, you know, I had a little lick that I came up with. I played that for 25 years before I came up with lyrics that matched it. You know, so one of the things I don't ever throw away anything I write. Because in my case, what I don't know is when I started writing an idea, maybe I wasn't mature enough or I didn't have the right experiential, emotional approach to finish it. I couldn't tell it. It was a good idea, a good hook, a good reason, but I couldn't do it. So that little lick, 25 years I played. Then the lyrics came to me, and it's called State of Mind is the song, and it went to be the #1 song in the Western music charts. You know, it just, finally the lyrics came that match the melody.
You recognized that back then, you knew it was special, but you didn't want to ruin it with bad lyrics.
Right, I can't tell you, Trevor, the number of times that I tried to put lyrics to it, that it didn't match.
It just doesn't. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Sometimes you'll write a song and it just comes.
Yeah.
You know, like you'll sit down. I remember one time I had an idea for. I was going on the road. I had to go to a gig. And the night before I had this idea for a song. So I kind of roughly sketched it out. The next day I got on the airplane. I remember I was going to Las Vegas. We had some gigs in Las Vegas. Got on the airplane. Boom! I just started writing. I heard the song in my head. And my guitar wasn't even was in the overhead bin, so I couldn't even get my guitar out. Okay. I wrote all the lyrics. Got to the hotel. Pulled out my guitar. Sang it. It was done.
Yeah.
Okay. Other times, you struggle and you work and you put it aside. You wait a year. You bring it out again. You get a little bit more. You know, I'm sure you still have ideas sitting at home that you can still have.
I have the lyrically that sometimes that are like, again, I like meter, I like rhyme. It becomes like poetry, and you read through it and say, okay, maybe this is supposed to be a poem rather than a song. Maybe this is not supposed to have lyric or have music with it. And I'll read through it. And I'll try to think, how do I tell this? You know, how would I say this? You know, because there was a whole period of time in the 60s where it was a lot of music with spoken lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, Tom T. Hall did. I mean, it's just a lot of people did just, it was poems and just had musical background.
Yeah. Plus, you also have to decide what you. I know what helps me a lot is I have to try to focus. What am I trying to say? Okay, so I might have an idea, you know, and I'll have the chorus or I'll have a little bit of the verse. And I say, okay, well, what do I want to say? And then I'll just kind of write out what I want to say. So I know what I'm saying, and then I'll take that, and then I'll kind of work the.
There's a comment on the Facebook live stream from Tim Hager that says, "Fascinating what you're sharing, gives insight into songwriting I've never heard before."
Oh, good, thank you for engaging.
Yeah. But I know for me, songwriting is I don't know about you. Do you? Because there's a difference between inspiration and what was the other?
Perspiration.
Well, you have to write. We're writing. You know, I'll write a song. I'm going to write a song today. Okay. Or for example, we're doing another album. We need some songs. Okay. Well, I better write some songs. As opposed to I'm just walking along and I've just got inspired. But you can't always wait to be inspired. Okay. Because a lot of times, if you need songs, you better start writing. Okay, so that's where the craft comes in. Where you say, okay, well, what kind of songs do I need? Well, like, I'll give a perfect example. John and I, when we do our shows, you know, a good show, an hour, you do an hour and a half show, okay, goes through, it's not the same song all the time. It's not the same meter all the time. It's not the same emotion all the time. If it was, by the third song, it would be really boring. Okay? So what you want to do is when you're doing a show, you want to pace things out so you're taking the audience on a journey that they never quite exactly know where they're going to go. And when they get to the end of, it's like watching a movie, you're so absorbed that, and it's over, it's like, oh, that was an hour and a half, that was 2 hours. Boy, that sounded like 20 minutes. Okay? Because they're engaged in that journey. Well, if you're going to start your show, okay, you need an opening song. You're not going to just come out and do a, you know, hey everybody, good to be here. For my first song, I'm going to do something really slow or, you know, you need an opening song. Okay, so when we need an opening type of song, what am I going to write for that? Okay, so that can help to define what you are going to write, and then you within the genre that you're working in, you know. Okay, now so some of the things, you know, because all artists, they have basic things that they talk about. Okay, you know, the type of things that what they're trying to say. Like Greg says, your music is really easily defined. You say you write about your country, about faith, your home. Okay, so let me write a song about that. Another one about that. I want to do something. Take that. I have to do something original and creative, but that's what I'm going to write about, as opposed to, you know. Teenage heartbreak love songs, because you don't sing like that, you know. That's not what you do. So, so when you sit down to write, like for example, what would you like? If you say you want to write a song, what would you? Where would you start? You know, how would you approach that? I know that's how I would approach it. And say, well, what am I writing? What type of song do I want to write? What do I need? If I'm writing for whatever, for a show or whatever.
Are there any progression templates like 1-4-5, any kind of progression templates for songwriting? Where you can just plug in to a key and have a progression?
You know, so
I think it goes back to then it's, you know, forever rule.
Yeah,
there's a break to it. So
you know, I'll give you an exercise to do. Okay, the less chords there are in a song, the harder it is to write. Okay, a 3-chord song is really hard to write. Okay, because there's only 3 chords, so you have to come up with a clever melody or something that, you know, isn't done. Okay, now rock and roll is filled with 3-chord songs, but the thing that makes it engaging isn't so much the chord structure, it's the beat. You know, the old, what's his name, who used to do New Year's Eve, Dick Clark. Dick Clark, you know, he had a show. And they said, so what do you think about this song? Oh, it's got a good beat and I can dance to it. Kids like, you know, because that's what it's all about. That it's banal pop music that the kid, you know, okay? So it doesn't have to be as complex. But the DNA of rock and, you know, because different types of music have different DNA. Okay, the DNA of rock and roll music is basically your blues progression. So, you know, 1, 4, 5. Okay, or that's on your basic. Or you have, you know, the 50s. You know, 1, 6, 4, 5. Okay, and various variations of it. You know, every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you take, every step you take, I'll be watching you.
So how many?
That's all that song is. Okay.
I hear you.
You heard it? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if we're gonna do that's basically the DNA of most pop music. Okay, you can take other chords and you can change things around. Now I'll give you the if you're gonna do that's major. Let's do minor. Minor is pretty simple. Minor is just gotta be 1, 7, 6, 5. You know. Stay away that. That's all it is.
And music,
Okay.
and musically, what he's playing is just like if you're talking and where does the end of your phrase go? Does it go up or does it go down? You know, for setting tone. Like I went to the store, I bought a jug of milk. Or I went to the store, I bought a jug of milk. You know, one day I sound really sad, and it was I tripped on the sidewalk. I mean, you wouldn't say, I'm so happy. And you wouldn't believe me if I did that. So musically, again, what Joe was playing and demonstrating with the guitar is the licks, the lyric, everything, it builds. Does the melody match the emotion that comes through in the lyrics?
And the type of lyrics that you write.
Even the cadence of the tempo, you know, it's like, you know, waltzes to me can be happy, but most often a waltz seems to have a sad feel to it. You know, it just is like it's just kind of a sad feeling versus like some of the blues stuff is, you know, it's you feel happy, you know.
Yeah, because when I started, I was lacking the parameters of the music. I had no idea. It was as limitless as the sky, and you know, understanding theory and progressions and keys and that stuff. That really made a huge difference. That kind of gave me like a roadmap to kind of.
So when I approach writing, I try to think of it whether I'm my own playing, if I'm solo, if it's going to be a studio project. Would people get the emotion or the melody or the feeling of the song if there weren't lyrics? You know, can I think about what is supporting the lyric in such a way and write that so that people could listen to just the music and not have to hear the words to get it?
Plus, you also have to remember, different genres have different types of lyrics. Okay? So, for example, rock and roll, depending on, it tends to be more esoteric. Okay? There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. What's he talking about?
It's more poetry.
It's very poetic.
Yeah.
Okay? It leaves a lot of blanks, so you can fill in the spaces. Okay? As opposed to a country song. On a warm summer's eve, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to speak. Is there any room for imagination in that song? No. He's telling you exactly what is going on. Okay? That's a country lyric tends to be, I like to say, they are masters of the obvious. Okay? And they do it in a really good, obvious way. That you don't have to think at all. okay? As opposed to a rock and roll lyric or some more lyrics tend to be more poetic, more vague. They want you to feel it. And pick different, or a pop lyric. A pop lyric is really, I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. I guess you'd say, what could make me feel this way? My girl, talk about me, my girl. It's a band pop love song, which is great. It's a great song. You know, we all love it. It makes us feel good. We can pop along to it. It's got a great beat. Okay, it's the one. You know, 2, 4, 5. You know, it's a great song.
Are there rules? Are there? You have to do the chords and the progression first to write a song. I've written a lot of songs.
Yeah.
And how I've done is kind of started with a title, and then I follow a melody, and then the melody leads to the next part of the melody.
Right.
And then the song goes on, but I don't know if I have a real song or how it would be, because I really don't play the guitar, and I haven't sung that well to know myself, and it's not easy to ask other people to sing my case. What do you think about this? So I don't know if I have real songs or not.
Well, it depends. You know, we'd have to hear them. But I'll tell you the truth. It's not so much in the rock and roll either, because rock and roll, the music of the 30s and 40s and 30s was a lot more complex. You'd have I don't know. It was very kind of like a, pardon me, boys, start the shine, choo-choo, track 29, won't you give me a shine? We'll meet the Pennsylvania station, it's going to just modulate into a different key. It's magazine, that's much more complex. Rock and roll is not nearly as complex. Okay, but so in the 30s and 40s, it was very common where people would write melodies and they would actually have people to chord their songs for them. Okay, in the 50s and 60s rock and roll, people started, they could play 3 chords. So I was like, oh, I can play this myself. I don't need to know as much music. Okay, and then basically what you started happening is in the 80s, you had these heavy metal bands where rock and roll became so complex that if you were going to be a guitarist in a heavy metal band in the 80s, you had to play like Eddie Van Halen. You had to sing like David Lee Roth. And monster licks, monster vocals. I mean, the musicianship reached its epic, reached its peak. Okay, you got to the 90s where a lot of guys said, you know what? I can't sing like that. I can't play like that. I just want to be 3 guys playing in my garage, playing songs. So you went back to the more grunge type of simple type. You listen to some of the 90s, the guitar licks on them. They're really simple. They're really, they're just kind of grooving, pounding away. Because people say, I can't play like Eddie Van Halen, but I want to play. I want to do my thing. And it doesn't. So you have all these different, waves of things as they're changing.
But from a lyric standpoint, you can obviously have a song.
Yeah.
There are people who can do music and melodies that couldn't come up with the lyrics. One of my favorite artists is Roger Whittaker. He's the English artist, and he did exactly what you're describing. He opened it up for people to send him lyrics, and when he did this is back mid-70s. In 13 weeks, he got over 100,000 letters from people around the world that sent him lyrics. And he went on for the next 15, 20 years recording the outstanding lyrics, but he put melodies to them. So if it's good lyrics, if it's a good poem, if it's a good piece of craft and poetry, somebody could say, that's good lyrics. I can come up with a melody to that, and just to, build the network a little bit.
Plus, don't feel you have to do everything. I mean, there's plenty of people that write with other people, okay? Especially in country music, that's really common. You have 3 guys writing songs, because the more people, the better. The more ideas, the better. The more people that the more likely it is that you might be able to, land a song with an artist. So, don't be afraid to co-write work with other people. That's because you'll learn from other people. Okay, they'll have different ideas and everything slightly different and that kind of thing.
So basically, you have a band to write with.
Not necessarily. But band and solo artists are 2 different things. They're 2 different animals. Because when a band, okay, it's the sum of its parts. So when a band writes, there may be 1 or 2 guys in the band that write, but the way you approach it is we are a band. We're a group. Okay, we are making the statement as a group. Okay, so I may have an idea or something like that, but the bass player is going to come up with his own part. So he's going to add something. Okay, I'm not just going in the studio and hiring musicians to tell them to do what I want them to do on my song. A band is, we're coming up with this together. And each one of us has a job that's what makes the band great, is it's the sum of its parts. Everybody is contributing something that if you pull one or two guys out, you lose the band. Because and everybody has a role. It's kind of like a band, it's like a sports team. You're the relief pitcher, you're the starting pitcher, you're the cleanup hitter, everybody has a role. And a band is like that too. Everybody has a specific role. That's what makes it the band so great. As opposed to a solo artist, it's a totally different animal.
There's a potential legal issue though too, Trevor. Is let's say you were co-writing with a group of people and you come up with a killer song and then you guys all have disagreements and go different directions. And maybe one guy doesn't give permission for you to record that song. You can't do it. You get into a copyright issue where it's one of the reasons I don't co-write. I've helped people with songs. I don't write anything with anybody because I don't want anyone else to have an influence on what I do, where I do, how I choose to do it, or things like that. It's not wrong.
Yeah,
I have lots of friends who co-write, but it's what's the purpose? So if you're going to band write a song, if you're the leader, you're going to have to work out because people lose a lot of money in lawsuits by not approaching it smartly.
But I will say this.
That has been one of my biggest headaches.
Until
working as a team and being fair.
Until you're making a lot of money, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just do it. Don't worry about it. What you want to do is you want the experience right now.
Yeah. But if you're going to write with people, at that entry level, just if this hits a hit, you will get your share. Yeah. But I don't want you to stop my ability to move it forward.
Oh, for sure. I was just saying, you can't let it stop you, for sure.
Yeah. And then that brings
to be aware of.
And that brings into the whole aspect of, they call it the music business.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's a lot of music, and there's a lot of business part of it too. Okay, and you have to be aware of that. But I know for me, when I decided I wanted to be a full-time musician, because what happened was, I went to college, and now, 23, 24, we're graduating, and okay, now it's the rubber hits the road moment. It's great, I've been living at home and playing, for $20 a night in the bar, or whatever, $40 a night. Okay, well now, I gotta work, I gotta pay my own rent, what am I going to do here? Okay, you have that rubber hits the road moment where you say, okay, so if you want to be a professional musician, you have to look at it as, okay, what skills can I sell that people will pay money for? Okay? And when you can do, so you may say, maybe I can make a living, I can book a gig playing at a restaurant. Well, people are going to want to hear certain types of songs. So you have to learn those. Okay, one of the things that I think is great is learning a lot of songs because it just helps you grow as an artist and you get exposed to a lot of things.
Question back.
Okay, two things. I think you're absolutely right about the pop songs that they are sort of esoteric. I remember, because I grew up I was a teenager in the 80s, that I didn't realize until 20 years later what the music was actually about. And that as 14, 15-year-old girls, we were actually singing all these songs out loud, not knowing that they were drugs and prostitution and everything. I mean, really, right back. Second, and this is actually my question, because you introduced yourself and said for 20 years or for 15 years, I played at weddings. And that meant that you had to have a very broad skill and music and being able to play all the famous covers and stuff like that. So my question for you, Joe, is do you think that influenced your songwriting, and in what way? Because you have so much music that you already know. So does that sort of support, influence, how does that interact with your songwriting?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that it helps, makes me a better songwriter because it opens me up to different things. But what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to compartmentalize. Okay, so not bring certain things into that don't belong if you're writing a certain type in a certain type of genre. You know, because but I think like I said before, I think the more you bring to your music, the better musician you're going to be, and the better is going to come out of it. Now that said, conversely, like I said, for every rule there's an exception. Conversely, music is about originality. Okay, so it's about doing your thing. Okay, and a perfect example of that is if you look at these TV performance shows, American Idol, America's Got Talent. Okay, one of the things that you notice is that those are basically, you know, and I enjoy the shows. My wife, she really loves them. They glorify karaoke shows. But if you think of all the great artists that there have been in the history of music, whether it's Paul Simon or Paul McCartney or James Taylor or I mean whatever, name them. Okay, none of them would have made it on those shows. Why? Because they're not singing karaoke. They're doing their own unique thing that only they can do. That's what makes it special.
And I would just, you know, say and amplify that, you know, from a writing perspective and what you asked in the back too is does the music influence you? I know from what Joe explained, same with me, some of the way that I play guitar is because of the people I listen to, Gordon Lightfoot, Roger Whittaker, John Denver, you know, some of the figure picking I do. Stylistically, you learn things from people and say, I like that, I want to use some of that in my music.
Yeah,
you know.
and the other thing you have to remember too is with music you have a relatively if you're doing it originally you have a relatively short lifespan. You know what I mean? People move on, so you can maybe 5, 7, 10 years you can get out of doing a thing, and then the project it's over and you move on to the next project. You know, it's very rare that people will have this super longevity, and in order to have that kind of longevity, you kind of need to reinvent yourself a little bit. You know, so as you go through, reinvent so that you can bring new fans and keep yourself going. But like I said, you see, I was watching, I had a tape of Carole King and James Taylor, I was telling you about last night. You know, they're older than me. They're still touring, doing stuff. And yet you see the people on like American Idol and those shows, very, maybe 1 or 2 country artists have extended musical careers. They'll have sell a few albums, and then their careers are over. Because they're not really doing something unique and original.
Okay, next question. Because you're influenced by other artists, and they might have little riffs or something or melody lines that you like and want to incorporate, when does listening to other people and taking some of their ideas become plagiarism? Because I think in music that is really sort of a moving target.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's 7 notes is what it is. You can be sued for 7 notes.
I know, but I think I'm going to address it differently. I know you said. What I'm going to say is, and I'm sure you've done this too. We're all inspired to write by trying to copy something. Okay, yet when you listen to it, the song that you're writing, and that doesn't sound anything like what I was trying to copy. Okay, a perfect example would be Hotel California. Okay. The lyrics of that song, believe it or not, you know, they were trying to convey a Twilight Zone type situation. Now, when I listen to those lyrics, I don't think of the Twilight Zone at all. Okay? Yeah, and that's happened to me where I've written a song where I've tried to, I was just definitely copying another song. I was inspired by another song, but because it goes through me and my filters and my take on it, it doesn't sound anything like the song that I was inspired by. Okay?
The inspiration a bit differently is if you have 7 notes that are exactly the same as some other song, you can be sued for that.
Yeah.
but if it's 6 not,
Then you're okay.
It's probably edgy, but 7 is really because then someone says, you're copying what somebody did so precisely that anybody could hear it and know that it was a plagiarism situation.
Has anybody accidentally plagiarized? I just happened to come up with the same melody.
I'm sure it has happened, Trevor.
Yeah.
George Harrison.
I had written this song. We're lovers and we belong. So hold me, I'm not that strong. We're lovers and we hook, right? So I'm driving in my car. Okay, and I know it's supposed to plagiarize. And I turn on the radio, and I hear Cool in the Gang. Cherish the love we had. We should cherish the life. And I'm like, that's my song! Okay, now I know they didn't steal it from me, but has that happened? Yeah, of course it's going to happen. Because, you're dealing with such a small, 3 chords, 4 chords. Okay, everybody's writing songs. There's tons and tons. You're dealing with 3-minute songs. 40-second hooks, choruses. Okay, are people going to come up with very, very similar type? Yeah, it's going to happen.
That's exactly the reason why no professional artist will accept music sent to them.
Yeah.
You could send your album to an artist and it will immediately go to the trash can.
Yeah.
Because should they have one of those moments where they come up with a melody that's like yours and you had it recorded first, the risk of lawsuit is so big that it is not allowed by the music makers. So you cannot. You can't send it. It goes to the trash can.
They'll go to publishers or something like that. But for me, that moment was great and that should be the same thing for you. Because what that said to me was, whoa. My songs are as good as the songs on the radio, because I'm writing this and I'll make that level. Okay, which that's what it said to me.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't view it as it was a bad thing. I viewed it as this is a good thing. Wow.
On the right track.
I'm on the right track. Yeah, keep writing.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. Okay, yeah, which is a good song. I mean, it is. Of course it's going to happen. But
We're getting kind of close
yeah.
to the
You guys,
end.
yeah, you guys, any other questions or?
I'm just thinking, we've actually, some of the questions that we got ahead of time, we have mostly addressed just through our conversation, which is good. I think we've kind of hit all of these, Joe, that we had worked previously turned in.
You guys want to write a quick song? Give me an idea. Anything that pops in your head. Travel. Okay. Give me a style.
A style or a topic?
Well, travel.
Well, travel.
That's
Let's
the
try
topic.
something about travel.
How to write a song.
No, I need a style. What we're going to write? We're going to write a travel. We're a song about travel. What genre is it going to be in?
What genre?
Yeah. Is it going to be bluesy? Is it going to be country? Is it going to be up tempo? Is it going to be slow?
Soul.
Slow.
No, soul.
Soul. Okay, soul. Okay. Give me an open. What? Give me an idea about travel. Where are we going? What are we doing?
Cross country.
Cross country. Okay. Give me an opening line on travel. Okay. We're traveling cross country. Remember, it's going to be soul.
Okay. I'm traveling with.
Yeah, well, set the picture. Set the picture before we say where you travel. Set the mood.
Okay. I'm home, but I'm dreaming about being somewhere else.
Across country, okay.
These are my.
People looking out the bedroom window. Rain falling down from the sky.
Would it be appropriate to ask what the plot is? Sorry,
What's that?
to interrupt. Like just the plot of the song.
The plot of the song.
Yeah.
Well, what our idea was is to get an idea and just show how the creative process can work without any planning.
Yeah.
And so, the plot at this point, I don't know that we've come up with a plot. We've got travel. We're going to kind of think about going across country, kind of a soulful feel to it, and it's kind of the idea of wishing that we were traveling across country. So what we thought is we would just take a career risk and try to just bounce off a couple lines and see if we could demonstrate completely improv to come up with a couple of lines that, well, this could be something.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot of fun. I like it.
Could I just ask, what is soul music? Because that's just kind of what I think plays off of.
Soul.
Okay. You want to answer?
Soul.
Soul. Okay. Soul music is considered. Okay. I have the history of music. I have to write. Okay. Soul music would be considered black music that came out of the black churches. That is very soulful. That originally was church music. Okay. But think of somebody like Aretha Franklin, or somebody like that. Do you know who she is? You Franklin? Okay, she's a famous soul singer. Soul music was really popular in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Even more kind of like really deep emotional feeling, like, you know, he's thinking, I wish I could travel across country, so let's come up with a line. So you want to start the first line, Joe?
Yeah. Well, I like Al's idea.
I'm sitting home in my room and wishing and hoping to somehow be able to go across the country to see new sights, see mountains and rivers, but I'm just stuck in my room.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. And then we want to get to travel, so I wish I'm stuck in my room.
Wishing that I was going.
No, well, let's start with what he said. I'm stuck in my room.
Okay. So
You go.
stuck in my room and wishing
I was
In a lake fishing.
lying next to you right now.
Kissing.
thinking about the mountains and how I wish I was there.
Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, so it's that. The idea is just, the songwriting. Where do I want to go with it?
Thinking about
Without
some traveling.
Cross the great divide.
Can't wait to see your beautiful smile and hold you by my side. 'Cause I'm traveling to you. Traveling to you. Traveling to you. Your love will get me through if that's the one thing that you do. I'm traveling
to you.
There we go. How's that? That's not bad.
I think that's the right
But
way
it
to
changed
put
into
songwriting.
a love song.
Yeah, I know. We didn't make it soulful. Oh, yeah.
It was
I just went with Greg. Yeah.
We only had a 5% chance of getting it right, though.
Songs didn't write themselves though. It's
But you get the idea of how the song kind of just
have fun.
kind of grows, and you just come up with an idea, and you come up with a lyric, and you can try to, but don't make it, don't always make it, the lyric, don't make it so obvious. Make it I mean, one of the most famous lines, okay, all the literature, it was a dark and stormy night. It was a dark and stormy night. That's 7 words, right? Simple. Yeah, when I say those 7 words, what do you see?
Dark and stormy night.
What's that?
It could be sad, absolutely. Yeah.
You see, you can see a castle, you can see rain, you can see,
I think they're exciting.
you can see lightning, you can see, you see all the 7 words, and all of a sudden you see so much. Okay, that's what lyrics you need to do when you're writing song lyrics. Is to give you lyrics that really say so much more than what they're saying, because you don't have that much.
And the example you brought up at the beginning of, a painter and a paintbrush, as a form of art, just music is an art. If you don't ever come up with lyrics in your writing and you just write guitar parts, that is art. You've created something amazing. If it's lyric that comes with it, it's art. Songwriting is an art. I mean, it's all can be that creative process that turns into something that it wasn't before, that mind, that intangible creation. When you hear it, is it real? You can't see it, you can't touch it, but when you hear it, it changes you. So yes, it is real. Hearing is real. And so again, just from the Council on the Arts for providing the sponsorship for this event to be able to kind of talk through what this form of art is. We're grateful. We've talked about this before. We've talked about doing something like this for quite a long time, and to have an opportunity in this format to be able to explore his experience and my experience and bring in just some commentary and talking about it. I'm grateful for the experience.
But I was saying, when he's traveling to you, so I'm thinking we want to, because now we got to the second verse. So we got to make it a little different than the first verse. Because basically, so what I would say, I would do is, I think I would take that song and I would say, change it, something about that. I'm traveling to you in my mind. Because now I want to travel to you, but there's something that's holding me back. Because maybe.
There's the reality of having to go to
Maybe,
work or pay the mortgage.
so maybe we had a fight and I don't know if you want to be with me anymore. You know what I'm saying? So the story starts to, the first verse we set it up. Second verse, we're going to expand. Bring in a new thing. We go somewhere you haven't gone before. And then they can, but anyway,
We could talk for hours, and that's part of it.
So that's how it goes. Yeah.
But we thank you so much for coming out today, and for those folks who've tuned in online. And,
Yeah, thanks guys.
and this will be eventually put on the library's YouTube page.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to watch it again, if there's someone else that you want to say, well, what did Joe say about that? What did Greg say about that? This will be available for, well, as long as we have internet, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So,
And I want to thank Greg for doing this with me. It's been
Thank you, Joe.
a pleasure.
It's been good to collaborate. Thanks again, folks, so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Thank you to the library. Thank you to you folks who tuned in online. We appreciate you.
When is the library closed?
5.